Hello and welcome to Slice of Desperation. My name is Matt Nahat, and I have with me Jim and Chris, and they're going to introduce their characters. It's been quite some time since we've played, so we've had a little bit of a preamble before our stream and figured out what is going on. And so they're going to introduce their characters. We'll really quickly summarize where we are and what we're doing, and then we'll get right into the action with like a light narration slash sun rolls kind of session where we'll get ourselves to where we want to be for the, I guess, pre-end of our little campaign here. So, Jim and Chris, introduce your characters, and we will get started. Go ahead, guys.
Hey, I'm Jim. I'm playing Jeef, the Celestin tinkerer and builder of things and maker of things. I am into what's going on right now. Jeef is very, very excited of the potential the many potential options he has with after the hacking that they did and finding as much information as they did about how deep the Yuzon Vong have penetrated into Adascorp. Like I said, is very excited for all of the options that he has in front of him right now.
Perfect.
And I am playing Mineth Fayback. She's a Bothan trader. Um, so far, this adventure has been quite a journey for her out of her comfort zone. And she has been looking for her parents. And at this point, she's kind of refocused. We kind of know where they are, and she's kind of refocused on wanting to find them and rescue them. And yeah, and she's kind of had enough of this.
Indeed. All right. So, um, let me just pull up here my. Yeah. So, Minet's parents are on Charaba, or in Charaba, which is a system in Hut Space. You guys have made your way there by the quickest route possible from outside of hut space into hut space because you don't want to be involved in the huts. And that's fine. You've managed to avoid any hut patrols. There was a blip on the radar at one stage, which sort of scared the crew and scared your characters a little bit, but fortunately it passed by and you guys weren't scanned or commanded to stop. You are just a blip in the galaxy after all, and you've made it to Charaba. Now, on this system, on the planet here in Charaba, Mineth's parents are here, and you know that they've sort of been in. Well, they were here as part of what was advertised as a religious retreat, but was in fact slavery or slavers kind of launching sort of platform where people would go there and then they would get a little bit brainwashed, and then the slavers would come take them down into the slavers market, which is where what we're looking at right now, and then sell them off into slavery. And we did some we did some scanning. We did some research and on our way here, and discovered that Mineth's parents were not amongst the religious retreat groups of people, but had in fact been taken down into the slavers' market. You can have disguised yourselves, and Carson would have helped with this, to to make it so that you don't look related, Mineth, and so that Jeef isn't recognized either, so that you guys can come here relatively safely. And so you've made it to this little market, and all around you, these seats. So your tokens are a little bit big at the moment, but basically these are aisles of people all seated. Watching as people are pawned off to the highest bidder. You have the little paddles that you can hold up and say, "Yep, I bid." Now, you don't have to participate in the auction part if you don't want to. There is I guess a way of viewing the slaves that are for sale. You would have to pay off the guards, and then you would be allowed access to the cells, and make sure that everything's safe if you wanted to go that way and do things that way. But if you would like, we can just be here in the bidding room and waiting for them to be sold. So how we want to go about that is kind of up to you guys. I've put us in here for now, just so that you guys get a bit of an idea, a bit of a picture about what the situation is. It's safe as long as you pay off these people if you want to go into the back room. So I'm going to hand it over to you guys now, to my players, to decide how you want to go about this and what's next.
Well, I think Mineth would want to go look.
Yep.
And she's probably been to an auction or two that were not for slaves in her time, and I think she's a little affronted by the fact that we're gonna have to pay people off to do that. But who bids on anything without looking at it first? So
yeah,
she figures, and it'll give her a chance to make sure that they're here, and for them to know maybe what's going on.
Okay. Very good. Then you can just pay off the guards, and they will let you into the back room, which is over on this map.
Oh, isn't that pretty? Okay.
And I will put you guys over here.
That's really big. Okay.
May I ask?
Yes.
We know that we were going to a slave auction.
Yes.
Okay. So, what is the likelihood, Mineth, that I could convince you allow me and some of our crewmates to build some sort of knockout gas dispenser?
Ooh.
And whenever up for sale,
knock everybody out so we can just snag them.
and we can bring breathers for you and I and for your parents.
I like this ingenuity, Jeef. This is a cool idea.
And you can go and make you can make maybe a big scene or something so that it draws a lot of attention toward you for whatever reason you're wanting to go in the back. Even if it's to a big spender and you want to see the product first, and
Right.
you can know what to bid on. You can plan your bids and plan your purchases
Right.
rather than wasting money on lower quality product. And while you're making that big deal and everyone's getting your attention or trying to ignore you, and them trying to ignore you, I can do my best to
If we're
maybe even get some of the other shipmates to come along.
If we're gonna go that route, though, would it not be easier just to wait for them to show up on the auction block then?
If waiting for them to show up on the auction block, it'd be a good idea for you to still know that
they're there for sure.
What condition they're in. I mean,
yeah,
they're probably going to be, lack of better terms, chained up. They're going to be restrained somehow.
Yeah.
And knowing, at least being able to give me a couple of minutes, like the best way to get them out in that state, other than just the breathers, could be real good.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Minith is definitely down for that plan.
Cool.
I like it.
So I guess we'll make those background rolls then, with making this sleeping gas canister, and then will bring us. Then you'll have make sure that they're safe-ish within the slave pens, and then spring your plan when they come up to the public. So, I guess Jeef with the assistance of the crew. So you can have probably it'll probably only be one of the crew that knows enough to help you. So you get a boost for that. Has Jeef made anything like this before?
Why not? I'm certain that maybe I'm almost positive that there's some kind of schematics for anything to machinery, but at least maybe even like a grenade that we've got on us.
Yeah. That you just sort of refit.
And that I can take apart and go, okay, I see how this works. And then use that to multiply them.
All right. Well, let's do this then. Let's first make a roll that is taking apart the grenade or whatever device we're taking apart to look at, because I mean this is obviously a little bit dangerous. You've got the crew there, so you've got the boost.
Got my tools.
You've got your tools, so you've got the right tool for the job, so that'll give you another boost. And but it's it's a dangerous device. Would you get something fairly simple? I'm guessing.
I honestly don't think that, or I don't know whether our ship would come super intricate already.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we'll get something simple. So we'll call it average with a setback, because the setback's there to represent that everyone's a little bit on edge. This thing could blow up. but you've got your 2 boosts and you've got whatever else. And in this case, I guess it would be a mechanics check. The other thing that I could argue potentially would maybe be something like skullduggery, but I'm happy for you to make a mechanics check at this point.
I'm happy to make a mechanics check as well.
I bet. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, as you're taking it apart, not only do you do so safely, but you do so pristinely and so cleanly that you're able to tell exactly how this thing works. With that Triumph, you know, just upon taking it off, exactly where the canister's going to go. You know that it's going to fit in this position, and then that's going to go off real sweet. So,
could I use that Triumph to looking at the parts, everything looks, or at least reminds me of something similar, all these small pieces, to something else I've made, or other parts that I've made, to the point that I can look at this and go, I can probably make this smuggle this in there in parts.
oh yeah, like the whole making a sniper rifle out of an umbrella sort of thing when you get into the facility. I like it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with that Triumph, you absolutely can do that. You can put it, you can separate it all into these mundane looking parts that no one would ever think could be put together to make any sort of explosive gas device or anything harmful or negative to them. So that's absolutely that's actually absolutely happening. So
cool.
And so you have that with you as we're making our way to now. You just wanted the gas at this stage, and obviously rebreathers are easy to get hold of, so that's not an issue. There's nothing else you wanted to do in preparation just before we go and view the pens?
Even though it's the roll and figure this out, it's going to take some time for me to make sure I can modify these into multiple parts that, and maybe a couple other crew can be scattered out to set these up under chairs or benches or something.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure this will take my time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you've busied yourself with that. Mineth in disguise. Then let's do this. You're out there making sure, starting to maybe retrieve some of your pieces. Mineth, in the meantime, while you've been doing this, can have come into the slave pen. Obviously, you've paid them off. Otherwise, these droids are here for the protection and escort of the prisoners. You see a wide variety of people here. None of whom you really recognize except for the pen with your parents in, which is this one over here.
Okay.
But there's some little what do you call them? Easter eggs here in these pictures that some people in in the cast might recognize. But yes.
So I can see.
Uh,
Oh, kitty.
yeah.
Cool.
So the pens aren't exactly clean, but they're not filthy either. They're just they're they're fine. As far as slave pens go, um, each of them, each of the pens is opened by a lever, which is around that table there,
Okay.
and um, and basically, yeah, they've got a sleeping space. They've got a small latrine, but none of them have a sink. And it sort of smells in here. It's not squalid, but it wouldn't be pleasant. You can see that they're sad. And something that you notice is that they don't see you, but you see them. And that's the case with all of the slaves here in this place. None of them move as if they recognize your presence here in this room.
Okay. So it's not necessarily that Carson did a good job. That was my first thought. All right. Well, I can't believe these conditions. How do you know these people are healthy? Are we going to be taking home sick slaves?
Any guards that are with you can answer that question if you want to say it out aloud.
Oh yeah, she said it out loud.
The guard will reply with, "I'm not sure where you've been or what you've done, and what other, what other auctions you've been in, but these are about the conditions that you can expect wherever you go. It's only the huts really that have better conditions than this, and that's because they value their slaves for trade. You know, this is what it is. This is not my or our idea. We're employed to guard these folk and to keep them as comfortable and, in your words, healthy as they can be while they're here. They're not left in their cages day in, day out. They do get open air every day for about an hour before they return here. And they're only kept on premises for like 24 hours before they're sold. So it's about every 8 hours they get an hour of break from the pens.
So none of them have been here long then.
No.
Good at least. And, she's making this conversation as she wanders from, enclosure to enclosure, kind of pausing, making sure to pause at her parents' one and show interest.
Yeah.
More so in them than anyone.
Right.
And then
relay some subconscious messages to these guards. Yep.
Right. And then I think and then she'll just Say, all right, well, I think I've seen what I need to see. Thank you. I'm ready to return to the.
Sure. And then you return to the outside. I'll just put you for now here in the arena.
Okay.
When no bids are accepted or made, slaves are then put into this arena to fight whatever monsters they have.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal, pretty brutal existence.
Zenith is not liking that. Like, I mean, her parents clearly aren't slaves, shouldn't be slaves, and she just, I mean, that must be the case for most of these people here. They've just snatched them out of whatever they were normally doing, and she's just like not happy about that at all.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, yeah, you can view that and see that. If you want to watch a match, you can. Probably, though, I'm guessing that you guys, we can just say this. An announcement goes over that the next auction will be in the next sort of hour or so, and people start filing into the other room
Nice.
to start bidding. So we'll take you back there. All right.
All right.
So yeah, you guys wait it out, watching bids go by. I assume that Mineth would raise her hand for
Yep.
some of these bids right in the middle of the bidding process so that she
Yep.
would blend in, and where she knows that she's not going to be stuck with whatever slave.
Exactly.
Where there's hot competition going and people are yelling back and forth, you would throw a bid in there to look like you belong. So no one really suspects anything. And meanwhile, Jeef is putting pieces of things together while people are distracted and bidding, and he can find everything that was stashed and start to piece it all back together in time for when Minet's parents are bid for.
Nice.
I would like, if I may, I think this is a big enough deal. Jeep wouldn't care so much for the plight of the people, but however, watching over and over and over again, either go for less than what Jeep thinks his own life is worth, not getting picked up at all and having to fight to the death versus these monsters, which they don't have a chance. It's at that point people are just
Yeah, they really don't have a chance.
This is a big enough deal that Jeef or J3EP and pats it on the top of the canister and goes, "Ready, buddy?"
Yeah, J3EP is all about this.
Jeep up with one of the canisters.
Cool. So, sorry. So is this like just during proceedings? Like, what's happening?
And again?
So this is just like casually during proceedings?
I could even walk out of the room and take him, like,
okay. Yeah. So yeah, you can walk out of the room. Find a safe place. If you were saying anything, then I didn't catch any of it. Sorry.
No, no, I didn't say anything.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, you can find a safe place, and I because you set the whole thing up. I don't even really require a check from you to put things together and have them ready. When it comes time to set it off, I'm gonna require a check. But you know, you set this whole thing up. You pulled it apart with a triumph. You know how this thing works. So I don't require a check.
And now that we've seen some people auctioned off in this thing, are they coming in bound?
Yeah. So what happens is these. So this was just one. So there's like an enforcer. This guy, this green, this guy, he comes in with each one, and then goes behind the curtain and goes and gets the next one. The Gran is the auctioneer.
Okay. And have we seen any other, like, has there been pairs?
Yep, there were a pair of twins.
And were they bound to each other?
No.
Or just themselves? Okay, cool.
No, they were not bound
So,
to each other.
yeah, so we're kind of feeling like we have a feel for
Right.
what we're going to have to deal with.
So I'm gonna sort of put Mineth's parents kind of in the middle of this auction.
Sure.
The people that have gone before, the first peg off the rank was this strange, sort of almost cat-looking creature. There was the twins that went before. They went for a rather exorbitant price. The twins. Then there was this single sort of dark-skinned female. She, there were lots of wolf whistles in the crowd when she came out. She fetched an okay price considering, but you're pretty sure there was only one thing on the minds of those that bid for her.
Yeah.
And there was one other one. There's sort of almost just taller than Jeef, who was a bit of a engineer, who sold, I guess for a middling price, slightly above middling, before Mineth's parents are bought out. Just like the twins, they are not bound to each other, but this enforcer, for want of a better word, brings them out onto the stage. There's not a great deal of interest in the crowd. The Gran will try to make the most of the little interest that there is, with things like that these people were, had dealings with rune stones, and that there's a few more bidders when rune stones are mentioned.
Okay. Minith will jump in on the bidding, and she'll signal. She'll give Jeef the signal.
Okay.
Whatever our pre-agreed signal was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. He'll get that signal and understands what it means. So I guess I'll need a check for you to set it off, and I guess would there be enough gas to fill this whole room? Consider that each of these squares in this case is actually a 10-foot square rather than a 5-foot square. Yeah, I mean we haven't rolled Destiny, but you can assume that you've got a story point. I'm not terribly concerned about that. So if we want to spend a story point, I guess then we would roll Destiny now and then use them if you would like to.
Right. Well, I actually was. I guess my intent was to make. I'm not necessarily trying to fill the room. I'm just trying to fill where people are.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess then probably what I would ask is where you intend for it to go off. So there's the stage area, which is, being that these are 10-foot squares, 20 foot by 10 foot. There is the Gran, the Enforcer, and both Mineth's parents on the stage. There's the front row of bidders. You would, if you set it off on the stage, you would hit the front row of bidders. Potentially, you would get maybe one row back. But given it's just a gas explosive, unless it's designed to spread quickly through a large area. So this would be, the room in total is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 feet. Generally, spreading gas explosives are between 20 and 30 feet.
So, making multiple, I meant to have them all over the room, not all in one place.
Right, so you've got a few to set off, correct?
Sir.
Right, okay. So let's do this then. And are some of the crew here to help you set them off, or are you going to sort of go to each one?
Yeah. Definitely crew.
Is there a problem with having them be remotely detonated?
Oh, if you want them remotely detonated, that's fine.
A remote detonator is...
So maybe like this. I could potentially put one more on the doors if you want 4. Alright, so yeah, the remote detonation goes off. You guys put your rebreathers on, or breathers on, and we'll rush up to also put them on Mineth's parents. Everyone in the room falls down.
It's going nuts.
Yeah.
All the robot cuss words you can do.
And we, head for the...
All right. So you're just heading out the doors then, and going to the surface. Okay.
Yeah. I'd assume so.
Yeah.
Chief has something else in mind.
Cool. You'll get to the surface. As you're coming down the passage, there'll be some people that are on their way to the auction that are late, that you'll have to like force your way past. I don't need a check. It's just something that happens.
As we're running by, I'll shout out, like stowing my rebreather again. Somebody set off a gas explosive. Run
Oh,
away.
well, they will absolutely turn around and go the other way.
Nice.
Perfect. Now we don't have to go against traffic.
Exactly.
And then when you come out, there's an explosion of people that sort of run in every direction, calling for guards and saying, someone... And you can be amongst this chaos and get away while all of this chaos is ensuing.
I think too. And I can flip a story point if I need to for this, but I think that we brought cloaks that I throw over my parents.
Yeah.
But they're not so conspicuous.
Yeah. I don't need a story point. I figured you guys came prepared.
Yeah.
And really, we're just narrating, the scene. So I'm more than happy to have that be a part of it. And you guys can make it back to the ship with all of the chaos that's going on. And people running everywhere. They're not paying attention to essentially cloaked figures going through the streets. You guys make it back to the ship and can get out of hut space, which is probably the first thing that you guys want to do.
Definitely.
Cool. So, back on the ship, your parents have barely had time to blink, really. You've sort of, made your way here, and they don't really, they're a bit, they don't really know where they are,
Yeah, they're disoriented.
Yeah, they have the disoriented condition. They're holding their heads, maybe a little bit of shock as well. You know them to be good traders, people of action. They aren't really. You can see that, especially compared to the last time you saw them, their health has deteriorated.
Yeah.
They're coughing. It's probably just bad conditions.
Probably.
And such. But there's a look of recognition there, but they're just like holding each other, shivering in shock.
Okay. So, of course, she'll have the usual, conversations with them that you would expect.
Yeah.
So glad to see you. I'm so relieved that we got you out of there, but are you okay? You seem... Let's get you to the medic. And she'll just take them straight to the sick bay on the ship or whatever we have that...
Yeah, we have a medical
functions for that, and have, and of course she's gonna hover. She's not going anywhere. She's not gonna let him out of her sight until she's ordered to. But she's gonna hover and make sure that they get what they need before we start overwhelming them with anything.
Right. And after they've received medical treatment and, they've had a bit of rest, with some warm blankets and hot tea and whatever else, you can, speak with them, and they're like, Mineth? What?
Yes, it's me.
I mean,
Are you okay?
put this into perspective. You helped lead a team of extractors into a slave pit and then took them onto a ship which you partially own. And last time they saw you, you were just...
She was just this mild-mannered
trader. And they're just like, what? They're like, I mean, they're happy to see you. But they're like, what's going on? Who are these people? What?
Oh, it's a long story.
Yeah, and we don't...
I have been looking everywhere for you. How in the world did you end up in this condition, in this place, up for a slave auction?
That's a long story, but I guess they'll give you, the Cliff Notes version, which is that one of their trusted traders stashed a bunch of rune stones in a shipment that they were personally overlooking. And the Hutts found them, found the runestone shipment, and took them to be punished because runestones are the Hutts. Well, one of their sort of materials of power, on top of their spices, and illegal substances. But runestones are highly valued and highly traded. So doing so underneath the noses of the Hutts is not a good idea. These guys, obviously they didn't know, but the Hutts thought that they knew and took them, bought them here, into Hutt space, and release them amongst the rest of the religious sort of retreat people, where they've been effectively brainwashed for some time. They're not... this whole thing that they're speaking to you unravels over the course of probably a month of them getting deprogrammed in the ship, you looking after them, everything else, and they sort of unpackage it over the course of that month to you, as they're starting to remember bits and pieces. They remember being a part of this religious retreat. They don't really remember what was said or what was done, except they sort of just became, brainwashed. They ended up in those cells to be sold. That's how this whole facility works, is they basically just brainwash people and then send
them off to slavery.
Right.
So in between all that, Mineth will do the same. She'll talk about going to work for Adascorp and what they've been what she can divulge that they've been working on, at least, and of course finishing up with this situation with the ghosts.
Right. They don't fully understand or get it, at least to start with.
Yeah.
And Juice...
They'll probably save some of the juicier bits for...
Right.
when they're starting to be more coherent.
Yeah. you can tell that this whole experience is probably gonna change them, just
Yeah.
like you've been changed, I guess, over the last few months of being part of this crew and doing the things that you've been doing. Um, you think that this life experience, I mean, they went missing before we started this campaign.
Yeah.
It was part
They've
of.
been missing a
So
long time.
so it's been a few months, and that few months is probably going to change them forever.
Robert.
But they can come back to a semblance of who they were. They can they recognize you. They can start trading again. They would do so very cautiously, and they would inspect everything. um, that anality would just roll over into everything that they do. um, and yeah, but I guess you guys can make it back to near Pando, the place that you know best, and the people that you know best. You can put your parents into contact with Carson and these other folk that you have grown to admire and trust, and who admire and trust you. Um, and he can sort of wean them back into into trading. Um, as far as Jeef goes, he can tinker on the ship and stuff over this time, and set up whatever he wants to as far as what's next. Um, while your parents are sleeping and recovering over this time, you guys get together and have the discussion that I guess we had as players and GM before the session about what's next for you, and you guys come to the same decision that we did, where you what we know is that the leaders of Adascorp, at least the CEO and this small group of people, worshippers of this living planet, and that while being employed under Adascorp isn't a bad thing, and that's your goal. Being employed with a CEO that's embroiled in that, and who potentially could bring down society as we know it through the Yuzan Vong, or the Yuzan Vong through Adascorp, you you come up with this idea that Arco Adasca, the CEO, should be replaced either by an heir or someone who deserves it. And we can have a bit of a talk now in character as to how we want to go about that, and I guess do any research as to who would be good candidates and things like that to frame the sort of ending reaches of the campaign. Obviously, Minna's parents are safe, and that's all okay. Um, So yeah, what would this conversation look like? What are some ideas that would get thrown? Would you confide in the crew? Would you do this on your own? Let's frame this a little bit together.
I think I think initially we would probably discuss it amongst ourselves, but I think that Minith would definitely broach the subject and try to feel Jeef out for whether she feels that we should include the crew because they work for Adascorp too, and they should, you know, be able to decide if they want to be.
Jeef doesn't agree.
They should be informed, I guess.
Does not agree at all with this. Remember, we had who was already more and more under the control of the Yuzhan Vong. Who else? However, we do know that we have who have been very helpful through this entire situation. Albeit one of them not necessarily the nicest. Carson, of course, has been very helpful, and I think if we can point out to him how having this would affect in both the negatives and the positives, I think we could get a lot of support from him. On the other side, the not so nice, Asa's always been helpful, at least with the hacking situation.
Yeah.
So she's already aware. And since she's already aware,
maybe she's safer to include.
I have a feeling that Carson, even though he's not aware, very easily has and Jeef puts up his fingers, dealt with people, or in a again finger quotes, professional manner.
Danny has connections too. He may have more knowledge of, Jeef. He may have more knowledge of who might be appropriate too to take over. So yeah, I see the wisdom in what you're saying. So maybe we just go down that road then.
Yeah. And looking around the ship. Part of this crew. And then Jeep looks at you. At you and then himself. But they're part of this crew at this point.
Okay, so yeah, well, we have a plan. We have some people to pull in and confide in. We have some people to keep out, i.e., the crew. They've seen and experienced that using these gates has changed their personalities and how they've coped, and they're feeling that they don't want to do that anymore. So, turning the ship in, for want of a better word, and starting something else is probably what's on their minds, knowing, what gate travel has done to them.
Yeah. And didn't we fill them in last time on why we were having the gate?
Right.
And, they know some.
Yeah, so there's no hard feelings, and certainly this story isn't about them. They've been here to support us, to get us from place to place, and they're happy to just let it be and to go about whatever their specialty is, in a different venture. Some of them will probably go back to Adascorp. You haven't told them about what you're thinking, so but and certainly I don't think that we told them all about the CEO and what's going on there. Some of them probably won't, and they'll probably say so. One of them's become quite addicted to gate travel, and she hates it and loves it. It's like a drug to her at this point, and she's going to take her some time to come off. But that's really not our story. That's not why we're here. So to put us on a path, you can gather these folk that you do trust, Ossa and Carson. Would there be anyone else in that list? Probably.
Maybe,
Probably not.
Probably not. Unless we were going to involve any of the, which wouldn't make sense. So no, that's probably it.
All right, we would bring them in, and lay out the situation. Ossa definitely does not want to work for this corporation while this CEO is in place. She feels absolutely betrayed by them. That they would knowingly put people at risk. For what? For this religious ideal? That she's furious about the whole situation, and she's totally on board with deposing Arko Adasca. As for Carson, he sees this as a huge opportunity, financial opportunity. He already owns a lot of what's the word? Cantinas and things. Four just on this planet, and
Wow.
having a foot in Adascorp would be very beneficial for him. Again, he doesn't want to do so while Arko Adasca is leader, after you guys tell him the situation. And he's more than happy to come on board as, and do some research as to who else might be around. Adascorp is a big organization. And it's been in the Adasca family since it was founded.
Wow.
Pulling it out of the Adasca family.
Probably not the best.
Yep, but there's got to be someone else in the family that
already being groomed.
Right.
Probably
yeah, I mean, Arko's not old, but he's not, he's in his middle ages now. He's like 60 something. And he's only a human. So he's probably been grooming someone, so we can check that out. Carson's actually happy to check that out for us to see who he might have been grooming. Maybe there's even a few people that might be on the list. He doesn't think that it would just be like one person. He thinks that probably, and especially because it's such a big corporation, there'd already be people in place in case of emergencies and things like that. It's a massive organization, and it's well managed, which means that there's going to be people already sitting there, not waiting to jump in, but
yeah.
ready to if worst comes to worst. So what I guess how much do we care about the personality and references of who is going to replace Arco, and do we just want to employ a plan to bring him off the throne, so to speak, and not worry about who's next, or do we want to worry? I guess that's my next question.
Well, I think one worry that we'd all have at this point is making sure that that grooming or whoever it is isn't also being taken in under wing of this cult or whatever.
So I think we need to run like a skill challenge between us that involves figuring out who's in this ring. So I think either we hack back in and trace down all of those emails. I think you kept a copy of everything though, right, Jeff? Like, I think you kept a copy. So I guess you would just be able to like go back to the copy and find all of those recipients and figure out who's in the ring.
Okay. I don't feel like it's important enough to like just to be like make a check for me, because you've already done the groundwork for it.
Yeah.
So let's just say that you find out who's in the ring. Not all of them are a part of Adascorp. This extends to a couple of other key personnel in Arco's personal friend network, which are like business professionals. Of note, one of the leading Empire magistrates is involved. But you know, do we want to, you know, do this on the level of defamation, like pulling people down by actually bringing all of this all of this to light? You don't think that it would be well received, certainly by key stakeholders of these businesses and by the Empire as a whole, that they've been involved with essentially the Yuzhan Vong through the worship of a living planet. I mean, so would we go down that route of like just bringing this to either public or Empire knowledge and then having them be taken down? If that happens and the Empire moves in, then Adascorp would essentially probably be taken over by the Empire, which probably isn't the best scenario. It might not be the worst either. What are we thinking as far as how we want to achieve what we want to achieve? Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
may not be the best course
Yeah.
because we're nobodies.
We are
Nobody.
nobodies, but
But we don't have to be seen to be the ones bringing this information up. I mean,
right.
we have connections with the press, and if the press were to break it, we we essentially wouldn't be involved.
I I think
Would have to convince the press though that this things called the Yuzon Vong are real.
Right. So we
Right.
we need to find a
That
go
they
getter, don't we? We really need to find a go getter, someone who's vying for the right story, who's going to believe something a little bit out there,
yeah.
who we can peg this on, who's going to get overly excited and track it down. But we also need someone with some skill that can track it down and can uncover it. If
And
you know,
and that has the finesse to not bring the empire raining down on everybody because
man,
I mean, what we've been doing with Adascorp is something that's a result of the empire shutting things down and being overly
yeah,
right. So I don't think we want to hurt anybody or ourselves in terms of what that's going to mean for our futures.
mm-hmm.
Certainly Mineth wouldn't, being a traitor and having traitor parents. Like
Yeah,
she didn't really want the empire raining down on everybody. That's not
yeah. All right. Well, I guess then, let's see if we can find someone like that. Let's make some checks here. I'm gonna have to open a character sheet and figure out what are the best skills to employ in this situation. I guess we can just argue for whatever skills we think are going to be useful. You guys can by all means suggest where we might go with this. Certainly, I think some sort of knowledge is going to help us here. I don't think this is underworld. I don't think this is xenology or warfare. I think this is like Outer Rim. There's a little bit of Outer Rim
yeah.
knowledge going on. There's a little bit of maybe.
How about computers and going for the putting out something on the darknet?
Yeah, definitely I could see that. I can.
Yeah.
So computers, as far as that goes, I think finding someone to peg this on. You know what I would really like to do when we find this person. I would really like for us to be able to make a leadership check to like lead them down this
Right.
road. Um,
Leadership isn't
it might
That too.
it might not be the thing that we've trained in, but I feel like
right.
it's the right story way to go here.
Yeah.
Even if we get someone else to help us out, like a leader, um, that's probably where I'm leaning as far as once we found this person, but we need to find them. So computers, as far as getting
Yeah.
some information out on the darknet, that's great. I think Outer Rim for finding someone who who can who can take this as far as press goes is probably what I'm thinking, and then Yeah, let's do that. So Mineth, roll me an outer rim check, because that's kind of, you've been looking at
Yeah.
at that. You wanted to establish your trade networks. That's kind of, you've
Right.
gotten to know some people, and you've got connections, and you've got people that have connections. So
Right.
I would give you a boost. Um,
Okay.
and I think this is hard upgraded once.
Okay.
And then for Jeef, it would be a computers check, putting stuff out on the darknet, and probably I'd do the same for you, Jeef. We'd call it hard upgraded once, and call it kind of even as far as that goes. So let's do this.
So I kind of before you roll real quick, Chris,
Okay.
I I really see. I'm imagining that this is taking. It's not something that we did once and like, oh look, I've got an email reply back
No, no,
by
no.
the.
This is over the
This
course
is
of
something.
months. Yeah.
So then, can I somehow assist her?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can assist each other. There's, yeah, absolutely, and
Sweet.
yeah. So yes. All right. In the check. So we'll roll it again, Mineth. It will be 2 purples and a red. Um,
Ooh.
it will. You can, because of Jeef's help. So you get your boost because we already have contacts.
Okay.
You get an upgrade to your ability because Jeef's involved. So it's going to be 3 yellows instead of a green and 2 yellows.
Okay.
And I'm just thinking, trying to think outside of the box here. Um, you did you did you still owe a favor to Rosk?
Ooh.
Did you?
I
So I
believe.
don't think we can involve him.
I know I thought about him, but yeah, I think I.
You
Let's
still
see.
owed him, I think. So
I think you're right. Yeah. Yep, I still owe him a favor.
okay. Then in that case, I'm just trying to find. I'm trying to find anything that I can help you out with here. But I think you'll get a so you've upgraded because of Jeef.
Yep.
I
I
think
think we're
that's the best that I can do for you.
I think we're good. Let me get down there and I'll outer rim. There we go.
All right.
There we
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. Um. Sure. Um. This is tiring for you, Mineth. This takes like all of your resources and all of your days. You start on this venture and you find yourself working like 10 hours a day for quite some time to try and track this down.
Yeah.
Um, but you do it. You find this journo who is a go-getter, who is super on point as far as the stories that he's broken were top notch, and who has the panache to pull up those rocks from the depths of the ocean and
Huh.
and look under them and who has the, I guess, finesse to do this without the Empire being able to do what we feared and take control of the situation.
Yeah.
So that person is actually being created by you with that check. So you find them, and you know that you can go there and use him. So Jeeve, again, Mineth will be able to help you in this situation. So your check will also be upgraded. You will also get a boost, just like Mineth did, because I'm narrating that this was an effort for you, and because we're kind of coming up to the end, 2 strain in the grand scheme of a couple of months is nothing.
Yeah.
But what I'm
Okay.
narrating is this took your energy, this took your focus, this you sort of are feeling like you need a break at the end of those 2
Yeah.
months, with a couple of months with those threats. That's how I'm.
It's looking a little wan.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Got it. Okay.
so Jeef, you're at 2 purples and a red. You've got a boost because we've got what we need for this. You've got an upgrade of your ability because of Mineth. And it is a computer's check, and you have Ossa's little thing, which she'll give you. So she'll give you another boost with her tag that she helped you out with last time. So, oh, really? Okay. That was a lot harder than what we first thought. Out of 3 dice, you've managed the worst result out of 2 of them, and the second worst result out of the other one. Okay. So you hack into the darknet and you put down this information, but for whatever reason, it just gets lost. I guess. Man, but with that advantage, this is over the course of some time. What do we want?
Months, it's just straight up silence, and I look back at it and I'm like, man, what's wrong with it? And I'm just sitting up late one night, just a couple months into this, going, I'm literally sitting here going, come on, somebody respond,
Yeah.
please. And I go back over it and I read it, and Asa's like, stop. Oh, I see. Sound like someone who doesn't know anything about what I'm talking about, trying to get information about something in a highly illegal way. Yeah, you sound like a cop. Okay.
that's cool. I think so. With the advantage, what are we doing with that? Being that I've narrated that 2 threats basically took Mineth like all of her energy for a couple of months. So this advantage is a powerful advantage that I'm giving you, in comparison to how we usually would use an advantage, because I use those threats to narrate a few months of fatigue for Mineth. So this is a few months of some sort of bonus for you. however you want to do that. So what does that look like?
Oh man, let's say that situation with that to spend a lot of time researching as well those files that I kept, combing through them, wishing I still had Jeep, and some bit of helpful information that use on a later check.
Well, okay, I'll throw another idea your way. And this idea comes from what you were saying earlier today about what Jeef is trying to achieve after we do all of this stuff. And what you said was that you want Jeef's name on some products and you want those to be circulated. You failed to get the darknet to take notice of this thing, but I reckon that advantage could be that your name can be recognized, and that when you start dishing out stuff, people, you've already got like this name because of the result of this role. Maybe, you know, you've put your name at the bottom and then someone's gone, oh, they don't recognize what article it was, but they recognize who you are, sort of thing. That's kind of what I'm thinking, to help frame that your name becomes attached to what you do. But however you want to do it is okay.
Let's say that maybe that it literally is coming down to no work of my own. It's dumb luck. Droid J3 EP, like he's got those calls on him. They know that he's and other items, like let's say that, oh, when we were fighting those with different colored headbands, I dropped something else I had made and it said G3 EP.
All right.
And when we were over there, the other people escaped from that first planet. I accidentally left behind one of my scanners that says J3 EP, and all of a sudden, this thing going, wow, this worked. This is real. Hey, do you? And then it's building and building to the point that they're like, hey, where did you get that? Where can you find that?
Right. This is the eternity. Graffiti on the wall that repeats, and people like, what did you know? And at the start it's like meaningless, and then it gathers, you know, meaning and reference and stuff, and J3EP becomes this household name that everyone knows, but no one knows how to get it. Cool.
And let's say that that's ultimately been like back at everything that's been happening, all those failed rolls, all those threats that I continue to work up throughout everything is me. Something else that I've had to go and make my own copy of, because I'm always talking about how I'm just squirreling around with tools and stuff all over the place. People are just like, this little item is great, and my name is known. It's just nobody knows that I'm my name.
Yeah. They can't.
How to reach me to get it made.
Yeah, there's no association. I like it. Let's do that. Well, being that we found a patsy, the story still gets out, but it doesn't get out on the darknet. But the darknet will obviously have its own have its own throws on it. It's not Jeef's throw on it, but it's their throw on it. And I think that this all goes down, and a big investigation gets taken. It's like this magistrate that was involved gets disgraced, and it all goes to like it's like do you have like a federal trial over there in America or something? It goes to like federal trial, I suppose, or federation trial, and they rule that Arko Adasca will need to stand down, and that someone else not involved will need to take the reins, and this takes some time, probably on in the realms of I'm thinking 18 months for this trial to eventuate and to happen. So let's do this. In those 18 months, as this ball started to roll and then just gathered steam and finally results in Arko Adasca having to settle down, what do you guys do in those 18 months to set yourselves up in this new life? What does that look like? We'll go over to Mineth first. Mineth, you've gotten the ball rolling. You don't quite know yet the result of that 18 months.
Okay.
But what do you do in that time, knowing that a trial is scheduled and is sort of underway?
It's a good question. I think she do what she can to support the story's already out there, the trial's already going. I don't really know. I guess she would just try to continue maybe doing some sort of work to help support that, to help pay down the debt.
Right.
So maybe she'd concentrate on that, because now us as far as keeping this moving, it's now on its own thing, moving forward on its own.
How about you start to trade, and that you find people who are willing to go out and find stuff for you or bring stuff from one place to another, and they use the ship for that, and the proceeds of that side of your trade goes to paying the debts off.
The debt. And maybe even she would start to maybe try to procure some things to keep Jeef, to get Jeef rolling. Right. And start to maybe market him or his, whatever he's coming up with technology.
It's J3EP. Yes, you trademark and specialize in goods of J3EP.
Right.
Cool. That's cool.
I like.
So Jeef then.
She's got a reputation to protect, after all.
Yuuzhan Vong resistance is confirmed. Yes, indeed. So how is G spending this time then? This 18 months of sort of unsurety, but at least the trial is underway.
Oh, same way he would have one time attached to him. And it is the one who made the contact, at least on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And fiddle and do odd jobs and build and invent, even though most of my inventions are probably pretty pitiful.
Okay.
Practical inventions. I'm not real good at coming up with my own ideas, but if you can give me something someone has already made, make it better.
Yeah. For sure. All right. Well, that's how you spend your time. And at the end of the 18 months, the trial does go ahead. Arco does get replaced by someone else in the organization who was not involved. There was a big investigation, and all of the people that were involved all came down with him. And with that, with your knowledge, the last that we see of these characters is them taking a couple of months out of their time to go back and close all of the gates that you opened, and in that time, the Empire get less and less paranoid or hard on the trade that happens until they stop being able to track these ships. The investigation of that happens too, and with the Republic's help and with the help of the rebels and with the help of a few key other personnel, the Sith that was behind the stealing of the technology that tracks ships, he gets tracked down and brought to justice, and I guess the camera pans away from the characters as they wrap up their business and close all of the gates. We see them wiping their brows as the last gate finally gets closed, shaking hands and walking away, and the camera pans over to Hoth, where there's a battle between Empire and Rebel forces, and that is where we will finish our campaign, albeit a short session.
Wow.
So, thank you guys. This has been an on again, off again experience, but I've really enjoyed playing with you guys. I've really enjoyed telling this story, and I've really enjoyed that it went in directions that I never thought that it would, and that has challenged me a lot, and I've learned a lot, and I've really enjoyed having you guys as players, and I will be looking at doing something down the track, but I'm looking forward to a little bit of a break from Star Wars and other things. But yeah, look, I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to come and do this. And I hope that you guys have had fun, and I hope that it's been a different story, and I hope that you feel satisfied with how it's gone. Um, and I hope that you'll come back and play in more of my games in the future, because yeah, this has been really good. We'll have a bit of a debrief after the session, and what's not. But if there's anything else that you want to say before I press the stop button, go ahead and do so now.
Yeah, just thank you so much, Matt, for having us. It's been a learning experience for me as well. It's only my second Star Wars game, and it's been fun. And in spite of all the starts and stops, I've enjoyed it immensely. So thank you so much. And thanks, Jim, for being here too. It's
Oh
been
yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Uh, I just want to make sure that I absolutely love how what turning out is that Jean Vong are a huge deal that are so much bigger than us, and the way that we went about responding to it, we were was just a moving piece of a machine rather than self or
Right.
the laser blast in this situation. We like Matt, you could have been running this game five other ways with everybody else, and them all turning out to be nobody really is taking care of the Yuzon Vong. We're all doing something on the side that ends up helping out the situation, or maybe even like it really gave that illusion that we took it in these weird directions and you ran with it. And it surprised me. Couldn't tell. And we made decisions and we made things happen. And there's a part of me that's like, all right, meet up in a couple of weeks and make some high level characters
Yeah.
and everything that's gone on. Now we get to play one session where we are the bullet.
Maybe we
We
can
are
do that. We'll see. We'll see.
that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Um, we'll have a talk about that after the session. There's the possibility of that. We'll see. But thanks, guys. I'm so glad that that you feel that you were able to make decisions, and just what you've said. That's really what I set out to try and achieve, albeit with a little bit of a scenario that we played out. So I'm you know I'm totally chuffed. So thank you, and we might be back, guys, with a very special one shot of being the bullet, but we'll work that out, and we'll come back and do that if we all want to. But thanks, guys, and I'll stop the recording now, and we'll take a breath. All right, bye bye for now.